spouse is your friend or your husband is your friend and you lose them, it becomes a very difficult thing to deal with. Today we are discussing the loss of a husband, and I have Khaya on the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mfundisi. Thank you to the viewers out there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is the show Painful Goodbyes, where we narrate stories of people that are going through difficult moments. If you have a story to share, please get in touch with us, and the numbers are below. People would love to know who we are talking to.
My name is Khayelihle Ndlovu Sibanda. I'm a young lady born a number of years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, I would say I'm a marketer. I'm now a master at marketing, the art of marketing. That's what I can say about myself.
Okay, beautiful. You would want to talk about your family and maybe share some bit of details about your family.
Okay, I was born in a family of 5 and I have 4 children myself. I have 2 girls and 2 boys, 2 teenagers and 2 babies. We call them babies.
Babies.
Though they are no longer babies. One is about 4.5 and the other one is 3. Yeah.
You want to talk about their names and the significance of their names?
Yes. The first one is Buhlebenkosi. The second one is Beginkosi. The third one is Bonkosi. And then the fourth one is Vatembinkosi. They are all bees. The bees is where we generated the name of our business, B&B. Initially, we thought we were going to have 2 children. And then when we had the other set, so we now are saying we are double B&B.
Okay.
Yes. And then Nkosi is part of their names because we believe that in everything God gave us, therefore their Nkosi is part of their name.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you have highlighted the issue of the business, B&B. You spoke about it. You want to talk about how you started it and how it really was beneficial to the family. Okay.
My husband and myself are both, I'm still a business person. He was also a business person, an entrepreneur, very passionate at entrepreneurship. And one of his great passions was passing on wealth to the next generation. And so when we sat down and thought about creating B&B, we were thinking it was going to be something that we will work at from our individual passions. He was a farmer, but also an entrepreneur. And then from my passion, which is marketing, we're going to work together and build a business that was going to be then passed on to these bees and they'll pass on to their own children and so on. Yes.
Yes. So having the 2 skill sets combined and also being a family business, what are memorable events in running the business?
I would say the skills ensured that we were part of a number of different businesses. I mentioned he was a farmer, so we had a big poultry business and also a farming business. And then we also established a retail. And within the retail, we also had spices and herbs because I'm also passionate about that. So our skills combined, and I also loved marketing. He was an administrator and accounting. So all these came together and we were able to form B&B.
Okay. So it was named after children, or children were named after it. So I don't know which one came first. So why that direction?
The direction was also so that they own it. It was named when the children were there. Initially, it was Delani and Kai. And then after that, it became B&B. So B&B was named after them so that they own it. It shouldn't remain our business. That was the idea. They were supposed to own it, be part of it, work at it, and ensure that they also build it further from where we would leave it off.
So what part did you do? How did you ask them to participate so that they own it?
Okay, one of the critical elements was identification of skills. Amongst our children, we were able to sit down and say, she's skilled in marketing, she's into production, and then involve them in those areas so that in their small way, they can, as little by little, for example, I can tell you the youngest, who is 3, is a people person. So she sits at the till, serves clients, salbonan, my customer, yalithengisela dollar. She may make mistakes, but she's learning, she's part of the business. Wow. And then we're able to tell that Peggy is a sourcing person. We left him to go out, identify the trucks that were coming in, and ensure that he says this is the truck for that, and so on. So for all our children, there was involvement.
Oh, thank you very much. We'll take a short break and then we'll continue. Please stay tuned. This is the show, Painful Goodbyes. Welcome back. If you are joining us, this is the show, Painful Goodbyes. I am with Kaya, and we've been talking about how you guys were running business. I think there should be some highlights, especially with your husband, were memorable times that you had as you were doing business together. Want to talk about that?
Yes. One of the important events or things that we used to do together was to sit down as a family and discuss the business. First, before even we had children, we sat down, created the vision together, and identified what we wanted to achieve. And then when the children came in, even as young as they were, we involved them in the discussions. And then also the other areas was to have the freedom of doing whatever it is that you loved. So I was very happy, or it was very touching for me to see him do his part and how passionate he was about it. He believed in whatever your hand finds, do it with all your might. And it's something that I've learned from him. This is something that I've also identified as important.
Thank you very much. And ever since we started the show, you've been speaking about him in the past, and we've highlighted that we are going to be talking about you losing him. You want to share the story, the day it happened, how it happened?
The previous day, just before it happened, was a Sabbath. He spent the whole day at church. He loved music. He sang and led in music the whole day. During lunch hour, interestingly, we brought up the issue of death with the family that we eat with. And he said, when I die, I would want it to be as instant and as painless as possible. We laughed it off.
That was during lunch time.
Yes, that was during lunchtime. After that, we went home. He had some schoolwork that he was working on. I looked at part of his work and then handed over to him to say, when you wake up in the morning, you're going to continue and finish this. And then when he woke up in the morning, he was sitting. He indicated that I'm not feeling well. He was asthmatic, by the way. I'm not feeling well. The inhaler hasn't been working well. I need my tablets. I started looking for them. He said, no, I think rather rush me to the hospital. I said, can you stand? He said, no. Then I went and tried to help him stand up. He couldn't even get to the door. I phoned the doctor to say, I have an emergency, please come. And the doctor said, I'm coming soon. Please do this and that. I did everything that he said I should do. By the time he got there, unfortunately I didn't know, but I think he was gone. Yeah.
Right. I'm thinking about the day you were at church and how when he was speaking about the instant death and you laughed it off. I don't know how you connected the two when that had happened.
He was someone who was very open. He spoke about everything. I think no topic was out of bounds. He would talk about anything, and he regularly spoke about death. And he said, you need to be prepared. If I die, what will you do? And I would always say, no, why do you talk about death? I think we're going to grow old together. All those beautiful things that you can think of. And when it happened, I think it was a shock, but it wasn't a shock because in a way I was prepared and understood that some people die and it can happen to anyone, including him as he usually spoke about it. Yeah.
So now, when he couldn't stand, what is the first thing that really crossed your mind? Was there any hope for life? Or what is the first thing that really crossed your mind?
Hope for life was still there because it was not the first time that he has had a severe attack. He has had attacks before. I'll drive him quickly to the doctor. He would get nebulized. We laugh it off and say, you almost died. And, you know, it was a normal occurrence. Not really normal, but it had happened a number of times before. So nothing unusual really crossed my mind. Yeah.
So would it be safe to say at this time you were not having a thought that he could die? And so I wonder what feelings really came in the instant when he died before the doctor arrived.
I don't know whether it's unfortunate or fortunate, but I never identified that he was dead or gone until people came, and I actually wondered, why are people feeling my heart? And I was actually telling the woman who called the people in that you shouldn't have called people. Why are you calling people? My husband is fine. I think for me, it really hit when the parlor arrived and he was taken away. Before that, I was actually sitting with him because he was lying on the ground. I sat with him on the blanket, and I think it didn't hit. Even when the doctor came and said, I'm sorry, he's gone, he was still warm. So for me, it didn't make sense.
If I'm hearing you clearly, the identification of the death occurred when the Hiss arrived to collect him. What thoughts came to your mind at that time when now you confirmed, when you confirmed that he's dead?
For me, I think it was a multiple, I would say, tragedy, because this person was not just my husband, he was my friend. We had built a life together where I can safely say he was my only friend, really, because he was that close. He was also my CEO. You are thinking he was there to make decisions. He was there to chart the vision. Now he's gone. In terms of the children, he was the disciplinarian. I was just the support system. He was a friend to me. He was a friend to our children. And also this pillar in the structure in terms of discipline. So I thought, now I have a big challenge to run the business, to manage my life, my happiness. This man is gone, and also to manage the children.
Now people were continually flocking into your yard and you are saying, why are they coming? How did you deal with the tension of thinking that he is alive when he is not, as people were constantly coming?
I think now that I go back and think about it, I had an abnormal sense of normals. I think the people that saw me thought, is she okay? Because I was functional, I was fine. There were certain details also that were not in order. I was the one who was running them, ensuring that everything was put into place. I wasn't even sitting down and waiting for people to say, we are sorry. I think I was in denial now that I really think about it. And probably the people that saw me, those that didn't understand our relationship did not understand at that time.
So fast forward after the burial, there is a message that you posted on Facebook. I don't know whether you still remember it. It showed some depth of loss that is not the same as what I'm hearing you talk about. What had really transpired? How did you move from that level of kind of denial to this, should I say it's acceptance? It sounded like you had accepted.
I think it was after we got back home, everyone left except one relative. The realization that I have a responsibility, a responsibility to ensure that these children grow up wholesome. I also have a responsibility to carry the vision, because the vision did not go. It did not die. The vision is still there. So my responsibility is ensuring that this vision lives and it continues. So those were the two components, I think, that made me realize that the loss is not even just to myself alone. Because at times when we lose our loved ones, especially as a mother, you feel my husband is gone. You forget he was a father, he was a youth leader, he was a community leader or whatever. Yeah.
I don't know how this question would sit with you, but I am wondering, when you lost your husband, what did you lose?
I think I lost, I don't want to say an identity.
Okay.
But I think in a sense it is a sense of identity. I had been married for a number of years. I've always been a wife. I've always had someone to talk to, whom I could talk to about everything and anything, anytime. So I lost that identity. I am trying to go back and think about what I've often had, the loss of respect in the community. I'm not sure why, but I have not felt that loss of respect, no. Even in the church, even in the community in general, I haven't. So I think in a big way, I've lost a best friend. I lost, like I said, the CEO and the visionary.
Thank you very much for sharing this bit of the story. Please stay tuned. When we come back, we'll hear more on the story. Welcome back to the show, Painful Goodbyes. Earlier on, we spoke about the loss of the husband. Kaya had been told us about that. And thinking about, I've seen every time it's the birthday, or it could have been his birthday, or it's the anniversary death, you usually post on Facebook. I want us to talk about that a bit.
It's a very difficult time. Usually for me, it's about the realization that abadala, they say "Sitshe sihle asidleli." So I'm normally thinking about the passions that he had, the dreams, the plans, what he could have achieved, and the gifts that he had. So it's normally a time when I reflect and also think about my life, and also wonder if I'm able to achieve what God has set out that I achieve in my life. So it's normally that time. And for the family as a whole, it's usually also a time for me to check if the children are coping, and if there are challenges. I normally wonder how he would have handled them if he was here.
So he constantly joked about just having an instant death, so that you. But I'm wondering how prepared, what life lessons really prepared you for such a loss?
I would say one was it's the Bible, that everything has time. There's a time for that and time for that. I think understanding that life is a process. You are born, you die. Those lessons made me realize that death is indeed a reality. I would say basically those are the lessons.
So I'm wondering how you managed to cope with maybe some loss reminders and some triggers, and maybe when the boy Upegi needs attention and you think if his dad was here, maybe it could have been better. How do you cope with such difficult moments?
I'm a people person. And in being a people person, I've identified people that can assist. He may not have his own father, but he has fathers. He has obabomdala, obabomncane, even close friends that we had. Normally, there are people that I go to and say, the boy is struggling with this and that, please assist, and they would guide or also talk to him. These are some of the ways that I use.
If I'm hearing you correctly, that's your support system, or you want to add other people who have been supportive in this journey?
Families, I would say both families have been a big support. The parents, and also being there, giving guidance. And in the families, in a big way, also they've come in with resources. Remember, I spoke about the business being brought. Our farming ended when we lost our CEO, because he was hands-on. He's the person who was running the farming side. I'm clueless when it comes to farming. So even resource-wise, they are there. And even having people to talk to, the church has been very, very present. I've been able to talk to a number of people about how I feel, and even their being there, they understood our relationship, and they are usually there even during the anniversaries that you spoke about.
There are sometimes there are words that are well meant and maybe meant to comfort you, but maybe they don't come across that way. If you'd help people understand such words, maybe that you can think of.
I would say be strong are some of the terms that they are meant well, but at times when someone needs to break down, it is good that they are allowed to, because being strong may be about breaking and then rebuilding from there. So I would say those are some of the words that I can think of. Okay,
thank you very much. And there are low moments. And what do you do when you are in those low moments?
During low moments, I think the first important thing I do is cry.
Okay.
In crying, I feel I get healing, but also I talk to God. I think one of the important things that I want to mention is that you realize the meaning and the presence of God in your life during such times. I feel at times worship is casual. Worship is just at the surface. But when you have had such a loss, you get to understand the verse is the father of the fatherless, because you begin to see God in real terms in your life.
Having brought the God subject into this picture, so what role has religion or spirituality played in coping with loss?
One of the statements that I love saying is, I wonder how people who do not know God cope during difficult times, or even during life in general, because you know you have a refuge. Once you have God and you have accepted Him to be the leader or the most important thing in your life. So understanding that God is important has been a very critical element in my life.
Thank you very much. What would be your final words to someone that's really passing through this moment? And we know it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a thing. What worked with you may not really work, but you may have some words that can be helpful.
I would say it's possible to live after you have lost your spouse. In the times when he used to talk about death, I felt that I would not survive. If you die, actually I said that a number of times when he spoke about death, and I would say I would never survive if you are to go. But it's very possible to live. It's also very important to ensure that your relationship with God is good, because then when you need Him, you are able to access Him per se. And it's also important to have people around you. Don't shut yourself off. Ensure that you talk. I think one of the most important things that I've learned in life is to talk about feelings, talk about challenges, talk about your failures. Then that way you can get either assistance or support, or even someone who a kind word that ensures that you fit better or you survive.
Thank you very much for sharing your story and your journey and the insights that you gave. For me, Skhumbuzo Dube and Khaya Sibanda and the crew behind the scenes, it's a wrap.